Tough look.
This is splotchy too.
And it's dry.
All right. Stream is live. Everyone get ready. What's about to enter your ear holes? Hello there, and welcome to TapCaf Transmissions, the only Star Wars podcast. I am Corey, joined as always by Justin, Mr. Eckhart's Ladder. How are you doing tonight?
Good. I'm drinking a nice Nova Scotia cider made with 100% pure
Nova
Nova
Scotia.
Scotian apples, which I don't know. I guess it'd be worse if there was like a couple New Brunswick apples work their way in there, but I don't know.
How can you tell? What's the taste difference there, though?
New Brunswick apples taste a lot like cigarettes, funny enough. It's really weird.
All right, there goes half the podcast viewership. A lot of big New Brunswick fans out there, and I don't think they're sticking around after that.
I think if you live in New Brunswick, at some point you are forced to become okay with people ripping on your province.
Yeah, I don't think they have internet there anyway, so we're probably fine.
That's true.
But you know which fans are going to be sticking around is fans of Star Wars Ahsoka, because we're going to be talking about Ahsoka Episode 5 today. It's any other news that we want to talk about before we get to Ahsoka, though? There was the news about Lando, if you've been keeping up with that.
Why don't you illuminate for the viewers?
So the scuttlebutt here is that Lando is going to actually happen, which is news in and of itself, but that it's going to be a movie most likely instead of a TV show. So that's what's being said now.
Which I don't know. Like, from what I understand, it comes from somebody who worked on it. Why would, if Solo didn't work, why would Lando work, I guess, is my thought.
Did it not work, though?
I mean, it worked for me, but
yeah.
I don't think anybody watched it.
I mean, you could, if you're going to say that, you may as well just say, like, oh, well, Kenobi made the switch from movie to TV show, and then that didn't work. So, I mean,
But I mean, people did watch Kenobi, though.
People watched it, but then people haven't stopped talking about how bad it was since then. How bad they thought it was. I should clarify.
Yeah, it's just like the interest obviously wasn't quite there for Solo. I don't know if it'll be there for Lando as a movie.
I think it would be, but especially since it's been longer since there's Star Wars movies now, and like if you start sending like 700 towards the movie whole, like whichever one gets through will probably do fine.
Yeah.
Because like Taika's not finished writing his movie. The other ones that have been announced are probably still a fair while away. It depends on how spread out they all are. And all of this is like purely conjectural at this point anyways. It's going to be 10 years removed from Solo by the time we get any movies. So it's a very different landscape.
I don't think there's any chance that Lando is the next movie. Like, I think they'll want something pretty big.
It'll probably be like either the Rey one or the James Mangold one.
Mm-hmm.
So, see.
Yep. Other than that, I don't think there was a whole lot of news.
There was also that Stig Asmussen is off of the Respawn team now, the main designer or lead creative director, I guess, for the Jedi games, and also one of the big voices behind wanting it to be a trequel, so a threequel. So I don't that's actually going to change. I've seen a lot of people saying that this is like sky is falling situation for that. I don't think it's going to impact them making a third one. It is sad because like
no, I don't think so. They're definitely going to make a third
one. Wish him all the best in his future endeavors, but it's sad to see him go.
Yeah, I think it could be okay. Like, I felt like the third game needed to. I really liked the third game. Sorry, the second game rather. The second game. I really like.
Was there an event I wasn't invited to?
Yeah, I really like the second game, but I think it could have been even more different. So I don't know. I'm curious to see whether, kind of under the direction of somebody else, the third game is something interesting.
Well, Kata's going to have a whole different set of mechanics than Cal, and she's going to be the playable character, right?
Yeah, little orphan girl mechanics.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's Star Wars.
But yeah, I thought it was I think it's not the sky is falling. I've talked to Stig a couple times actually at events. Not this most recent one, I don't think, but he clearly is passionate and like he clearly is in it was in it for the right reasons. So it always sucks to lose somebody like that, but there's always a lot more people, who care. Like in my experience working with EA games, whether Mass Effect or Dead Space to a small extent, or Star Wars to a much larger extent with Squadrons, Battlefront 2, and the Fallen Order or the Jedi series, everybody that they've picked to run things has been really passionate about it. So I think they'll find somebody good to bring her home for part 3 and perhaps beyond.
Yep. So hopefully that doesn't stop anything going on. But there was a connection with Ahsoka and Jedi Survivor. It's come up a couple times now, actually, in that we have confirmation that Ahsoka was actually using the same powers as Cal for sensing the echoes. It wasn't just a voiceover over her walking around in a circle in the second episode. She has the psychometry.
Yes, she does. And I guess we saw that a bit more in this past episode. I tried to edit the Wikipedia page for psychometry.
Yeah, but you're banned. You can't do it.
No, this is before I was banned. Before the fascism of Wikipedia reared its ugly furry head. No, because it's funny. I talked to somebody. I don't know if it was Stig or one of the guys at EA, and for some reason I assumed that would be fine. Because it was before it was public knowledge, I just added Cal Kestis to the list of people who could use the ability, and it got taken down pretty quickly. But
well, who's laughing now?
Exactly.
So I think this is just more evidence that Ahsoka met Cal at some point. Where else is she going to learn it from? She didn't know it by Rebels,
and Cal wasn't the Inquisitor.
Yeah,
Marok.
That was every Merrick theory was terrible. Can we just acknowledge that?
Yeah, except for it being what's her name?
Barriss.
Yeah, Barriss I think was reasonable.
That would have been fun. That one would at least be something other than just this is a name that I can say for some reason.
Yeah, I thought it was for sure Barriss before the show started. But I mean, the chance of it being like Ezra was like 0 in my opinion. Same with clone of Ezra.
It being Ezra would make absolutely no sense.
Yeah, it would have been ridiculous. So yeah, I'm glad, and Cal would have been like, because they got somebody who looks like him. Yeah. His face model.
Yeah, Cal should be in live action at some point, not as. Here's an Inquisitor. I don't think that's how you'd spoil what happens with the story.
You don't need to play the third game.
Yeah, like that would be a terrible, terrible idea. At least that isn't a problem you run into with Starkiller, but I thought that was probably the worst theory of all. Just based on like Sam Witwer being in the credits.
Yeah, like, and when I saw he wasn't in the credits for episode 2, so I kind of knew in my heart he like probably was just voicing a droid or something.
Yeah.
Someone said they thought they heard a Darth Maul at the beginning when Ahsoka's in that tomb. The line from Rebels where he says, "Is he the chosen one?" or whatever. And I could kind of hear it, but I also thought it was a thing where people are hearing what they want to hear more than anything else.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of names pop up with that, but I haven't gone back to actually seriously sit there and listen to what's being said because I didn't think it would. Like, I feel like it was just whatever it is stuff for Ahsoka to process rather than any kind of hint at something to come.
Yeah, no, that's right. So I never thought it was Starkiller. And yeah, it's. But how do we even get on this? We were talking about just about Cal. Yeah, he'll get his live action debuts soon.
Yeah. It's got to happen. There's no way you have Cameron Monaghan available for that, and then you don't do it. Especially like all of the Jedi Survivor characters are played by people who look enough like the character to use them.
There's not that many characters left other than
a lot
Alan Marin. Marin is voiced by her by like her face actress as well, is she?
Yeah, she doesn't look quite as similar as
God help Cal, the two of them if they actually do a show together. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I think she's more different from Marin than Cal is from Cam, but it's not particularly far off. I don't think it's.
Well, yeah, I could see it. I mean, she doesn't have the gray skin, but I could definitely see it.
The makeup does a lot for that. Like Bode's actor was Bode.
Yeah.
Leading, I think that contributes to the semi-live action looking picture in the game of the family, which was like Uncanny Valley level.
Very odd. Marin was one of the names we were thinking if we had a girl, because we didn't know. And I was like, should I tell Kelsey that there's a Star Wars character named Marin? I think we were going to spell it Maren maybe. So, but yeah.
Missed opportunity. Always number 4, you know?
Hell no. I don't know. I don't know nothing about that.
You already alluded to it while drunk on another stream, so clearly the thought's there.
No, it ain't happening. It ain't happening.
All right. Well,
I'm gonna head off to Polis Mass and get my balls snipped before that happens.
Polis Mass sounds like a different euphemism, right? But they probably do. But none of you responded to the image I sent this morning. I was just,
what was it?
It was so this episode, Shadow Warrior, I can relate this back to something that's relevant for the podcast rather than it just being me complaining about our group chat. But this episode, Shadow Warrior, is also the name of an episode of the Clone Wars from season 4. And rather than being an episode that was about like Anakin and Ahsoka that's being called back to with this, it's a Jar Jar episode. And so there's a scene, I think it's Tarple, who I think he dies in that episode. I went and watched half of it, but I forget the other half because I was making a video on it. And
how is this relevant to the episode? I gotta see how you bring this all together.
Well, it's relevant in that the title of the episode was the same, and that's why I got there.
Oh.
But there's just a frame that I stopped on that I thought was hilarious, where it's like front on with Tarple as he's falling or something, and I just thought it was cute.
So he wrote, what was it? I gotta find it. He wrote, when you saw already boomer, but she's too bomb bad.
Yeah, and then I got no response to that. But
well, yeah, I will say I didn't see that, and then Zach came and asking for tech advice.
Okay, well,
my mornings are crazy. I got kids to take to school, but
yes.
The chat's also called "The Tyrant Is Gone" from when I was taking a brief break to take care of my new baby. So
yeah,
very, very hurtful, very hurtful, very hurtful.
Well, it had to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Shadow Warrior didn't really relate back to that episode in particular. I was really hoping for a Jar Jar appearance. Didn't happen. But what we did get is a lot of Anakin. So there's really two halves to the episode. There's Anakin giving Ahsoka her last lesson from him, and then we have the fallout from that. In
last lesson?
Well, that's what he says, so I'm taking Anakin's word for this. But, I mean, he's also a child murderer, so I don't necessarily trust him in everything. But you get that section of the episode, and then you kind of see the change in Ahsoka's perspective after learning from Anakin, and how that allows her to realize that you can, in fact, use the space whales to go and find Sabine. So what did you think about Anakin's time with Ahsoka?
I liked it, obviously. I thought I was a little worried. I don't know if I said this in the episode 4 discussion, but I'm sure I did. I was a little worried about how a full episode with Anakin being de-aged would turn out. But I thought he looked significantly better throughout this entire episode. like almost perfect at many points. Especially, when he was. I thought the most impressive bit of work was probably the first Clone Wars shot. I don't know if he's on Ryloth or Teth or where he's supposed to be.
Yeah, I thought it was only 2 locations they did, but I think it does do Teth, then Ryloth, then Mandalore.
Gotcha. Yeah, I thought he looked great. The only parts that I think came apart a little bit were when he turned dark side at the end and had the red eyes going, but that always kind of looks really weird. Like he even looked weird in Revenge of the Sith that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was really impressed. I don't know if like the episode 4 stuff was something they did kind of later on or really early on maybe, but I thought it looked great. I kind of wish I had gotten a little more out of the message that he was trying to bestow upon her. Like and I think you had some good takes and some other people had some good takes about kind of what he's trying to tell her there, whether it's about being a teacher or about her time as a student or whatever. But I kind of wish it had gone maybe a bit more. Like I wish she'd gone through maybe a bit more of a personal journey throughout it. Would be my one thing.
Right. So like my thought on it was like we've seen throughout the season how Ahsoka's not really in the best place and how she's on the one hand very afraid of turning out like Anakin, but on the other hand almost turning that into like being that way because she thinks it's bound to happen.
Yeah.
And yeah, so like my thought on what Anakin was trying to do is kind of the thing that you'd have where no one wants to listen to their parents telling them something that might seem obvious. So I think it's easy to take what Anakin's doing at face value and try to think he's trying to reinforce these lessons that he'd had in the past of like, oh, you got to live to be a warrior. I'm just teaching you how to survive. But I think he was going harder on that because he wanted her to see that he's wrong. He was wrong about those things and that it's her choice what she does. Like sometimes the fighting is necessary, but that doesn't have to be who she is. And she doesn't have to do the same thing to Sabine. She doesn't have to turn this into a thing where like she's turning Sabine into a weapon and she's wrong to do that. Sabine can have other things going on. So like when Sabine is doing things that Ahsoka doesn't agree with, Sabine has been treated by Ahsoka as kind of an obstacle and someone that she only went to because she needed her technical expertise in one area. And then she was really quick to kind of jump down Sabine's throat for failing in various ways. But now Sabine has once again done things that probably would have pissed Ahsoka off a week ago, but the focus was less on we need to stop Thrawn and more on, okay, I have something that I'm fighting for rather than against. We need to help Sabine and Ezra.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. I mean, that's kind of I think reinforced by the fact that he does appear like in his dark side form for her in like multiple different forms, flickering between different Darth Vader looks. So yeah, I think you're probably right. I don't know. I was kind of hoping for a little bit, I guess, just more of an adventure or a kind of a journey, but not bad. And I think your take is probably the right one.
Yeah, like basically it's Anakin showing her the end results of the like face value version of the lessons he's teaching her and showing her like, I'm going to push you this way. And if you do what I'm saying right now, you're going to end up how I did. And finally forcing her to confront that and say, no, I don't have to be that person. I'm choosing not to be that person. And that's why Anakin is able to just go immediately from evil Sith guy to normal Anakin because it was all something he was putting on.
Anakin with the short hair and the armor is just too powerful. It's too good of a look.
Yeah, that I didn't expect that to look as good as it does. Like Hayden should just stick with that look in everyday life.
He
with
has
the filter on it.
Yeah, he kind of has had his hair like that for a while. I just think if he had looked like that in Revenge of the Sith, I probably wouldn't have grown my hair as long in 2005 and 2006. But
he did look like a hockey player in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, I know we've talked about this before. That was the same time the 4th Harry Potter movie was coming out, I think. And he also had the really long hair in that.
Yeah.
It was kind of just a look. It was and
Not a good
no ordinary
one.
person. No, and no ordinary person could hope to get their hair so luscious as the two of them.
No.
Like kiss, like he definitely floofed his hair for like hours on hours.
Yeah, they had a whole department on that.
There was a joke about that in the MTV Movie Awards they did that year with did you ever watch those? They had like these little skits. Jimmy Fallon did that one. They're actually really funny. They'd take like half of the movie, they'd take like the movie and then they'd put an actor in it as somebody else. So it was like the entirety of the final Mustafar battle, but Jimmy Fallon was Anakin.
Sounds familiar.
Like Obi-Wan shows up on Mustafar, and like Anakin's got the little tanning mirror out, and he's like saying working for the weekend or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So funny. The Matrix one with Sean William Scott and Justin Timberlake was so fucking funny. And it was The Matrix Reloaded. And Sean William Scott is Trinity in like the leather, the like tight leather. Justin Timberlake is Neo, and then Will Ferrell was the architect at the end. It was so fucking funny.
It sounds familiar, but like I'm picturing the things you're saying, but I don't remember anything specific about it.
The thing that I always like, because Kelsey, before she even watched Star Wars, she watched that clip, and probably like one of the bigger jokes is when Anakin and Obi-Wan are having their confrontation, and Jimmy Fallon's like, Obi-Wan, you got barbecue sauce on my bathrobe. And he's like, you've done that yourself. And that's kind of what starts the fight. It's very funny. And when he's choking Padme, he's like, oops, forgot to turn the Force off. It's a good little skit.
I always knew you were a big Fallon fan, so it's good to hear you talk about all these classic Fallon sketches.
My wife used to be. I've actually seen Jimmy Fallon live. I was there for taping of his show. I don't get much out of him, but she used to.
Well, he's now
kind of dorky.
Yeah, I used to like him, but like he was never my favorite of the late night hosts. But I used to think he was fine, but then I just kind of got over the overly fake happiness.
I just don't think I've ever purposely watched a late night show.
I normally didn't, but like I would watch Craig Ferguson's monologue, and then I'd kind of stop. Like my dad and I would watch that. Like I never watched late enough into one of the shows to watch a celebrity interview.
Yeah,
unless it was like someone I was really interested in that I wanted to look up the
interview, like a Star Wars actor or whatever.
Yeah, but like Craig Ferguson had some good monologues. Like when there was all this stuff with Britney Spears, and he was one of the first ones that was like, "Hey, this is actually not okay what society's doing with this." And he was a real one. I miss him.
I used to watch Letterman back in the day sometimes. It's just because I used to really like his top 10 lists he'd do. Like top 10 George Bush moments. That's like quintessential my experience with late night TV. Fucking George Bush still in power and getting railed on.
I miss the late night wars of Conan and Lando. Those were good times.
I can, like, as an adult, I can see the appeal of it in like a not pre-internet age. Yes, pre-internet, but like even like 15 years ago, I can understand why people would have enjoyed that more. Now it feels like where live entertainment is so easily accessible, it feels a little antiquated, I guess.
Yeah, like you can look things up on the internet now. People can put out interviews for whatever, and you don't have to, if you want to talk about a movie with people and you don't have friends who talk about the movie, you can just go on Discord or something for it. I think that's the hole it partially filled, other than like free promotion for stuff. But
yeah. So we got to talk about the big thing no one wants to talk about for this episode.
That they didn't bring in Obi-Wan?
No, but I'm also surprised by that too. Even just standing next to Anakin with a couple lines, you'd think.
Yeah, like I'm glad Filoni had enough restraint to not try that. On top of it probably just being really expensive to get Ewan McGregor in the show, even for like a small cameo like that. But I think
could have had Ewan McGregor look alike standing next to Rex, I think.
Yeah, but I think it was important for all of it that they don't show anyone else's face or have them involved in any particularly direct way, and not just because they couldn't get Tamura Morrison to come in beyond recording the voice lines for Rex. Like, I feel like having anyone whose face was visible outside of a helmet would have been intruding on the personal moment they were having. And that
besides those subhuman Twi'leks, right?
Yeah, well, those aren't people.
Yeah, exactly.
They're prosthetics.
No, I do agree with that. Same with like the fog or the sand or the dust. I thought visually it was a bit boring, but it definitely has a purpose and kind of making it seem like a dream.
Yeah, like it was all definitely production influenced in that they couldn't get Tamura Morrison in. They probably couldn't get Ewan McGregor in. And it was easier to make a dusty volume rather than a giant set. But I do think it can be explained and works within the context of what was going on. Like, I don't know if that's supposed to be Cham Syndulla or something, but it's not a named character that we're familiar with, so it's not going to interfere with what Anakin and Ahsoka are doing. That's why that, and no other reason, is why Rex's helmet never came off.
I bet you they can get Tamura whenever they want.
They probably could get, like, it's not that he wouldn't agree to do it, but are you going to fly him in rather than just have him record a voice line for that specific situation? That gets expensive, and they probably spent a lot on this episode already. But it does mean that I get to check off my cameo guess box.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, that was your not your obvious one, right?
Yeah,
like your likely candidate
one.
Yeah.
And I forget who my original like off the wall one was. I know I went with Revan later on as like a really off the wall one, but I forget who I said as my mediocre one.
Yeah, Revan, that would be a pretty off the wall indeed. Oh no, the thing that we had to talk about is smooth Ahsoka.
Okay, that was bad. I'm not someone who really cares that much about effects, like the quality of effects. As long as they reach a certain baseline, I'm there for the story, the characters. As long as it looks acceptable, I'm not going to be too upset about anything. But it was just distracting. It was seeing Ahsoka without the headband. You could see the stuff shifting. You could see where it was like CGIing over the prosthetic connecting to her head, and stuff was moving in weird ways. It really reminded me of I forget which editions of episode 6 have it, but it's the little fucking slug on Palpatine's cloak. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And it was just you just zero in on that, and it's all you can focus on. And then like there's nothing else going on in this scene, so all you can do with Ahsoka is watch her forehead.
Yeah, it's also just like it's just weird because that's a connection that they almost always hide on, like, because it's not supposed to be face paint as far as I'm aware. Like her skin is like her skin. It's like it's orange and white. It's not white with orange on it. Like that's her skin, and then her montrails or her head tails are a different color. So it was never going to be a graceful shift between the two.
No.
So keep the headband on. Like I'm getting that they took it off her so she'd be kind of vulnerable and reborn, but not worth it.
Yeah, I feel like no one would have been taken out of it by having her still wearing her headband there.
Even like a smaller, cheap headband, yeah. Like, come on, dog. And I feel like I was like seeing something I shouldn't see. Like,
yeah, it was disturbing.
Yeah. Didn't need to see her that way for sure.
No, hope it doesn't happen again.
Like if I walked in on her like that, I'd be like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and I'd turn around.
Yeah, like they had the door open. Jason could have walked in at any time.
Yeah, never would have been able to train with her. Yeah.
They'd be going to see the New Republic for an entirely different reason.
Yeah, I said you were never to be smooth in front of my child.
So before we move too far off of the Anakin sequence, you think there's going to be more of him?
Yeah, for sure. Maybe like some people have talked about, or there's been like, is it going to be a message or more training? I think there'll be something at least.
I think she just takes a nice knock to the noggin in another fight with Balin, and they have like a quick 5-minute sequence where Anakin has to talk her up again.
No, I don't think that. I don't think she's going to return to the world between worlds. If that's what that even was. Maybe she sees in like Star Wars Rebels, they've got the recording of Anakin that they see. So maybe it's that, or maybe he comes as a Force ghost, but I don't think we'll be back in the world between worlds.
Yeah, I don't think, like, I think it was more of a, forgive the reference, but Harry Potter situation with Book 7, where Harry goes to King's Cross after he gets half killed by Voldemort, and he's like, is this actually happening, or is it in my head? And Dumbledore's like, well, of course it's in your head, but why should that mean it's not real? Right. Or whatever. I think it was more of that situation where she didn't get like transported to the world between worlds. This was Anakin. It just happened to be that her mental state put them in that as the setting, because that made most sense as a setting.
Yeah, the other thing I'd say is that Jason can kind of sense what's going on.
Yeah.
Or he can hear it.
Well, it was happening in her head, but it was like definitely very heavily Force involved, because like that was Anakin's Force ghost being there. So that'd be something that Jason would be able to pick up on.
Yeah. Yeah. Little fucking weirdo.
How dare you? You're not even slightly won over by Jason throughout the show yet? He had a breakthrough episode here.
I actually liked him better last episode, but yeah, he's won me over. I wish they would have just changed the hair. I know it's a stupid thing to be upset about, but it's just, it looks so goofy every time I see it. I just wish he had normal colored hair. And so does Lego.
Yeah, you're gonna say your hopes were really brought up by the Lego set having the brown hair.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a big deal. It's just a little goofy.
Maybe it's like Sabine. There'll be, before the final battle, there'll be a scene where we have Jason standing in front of the mirror and picking up a hair dye bottle.
Oh, well, that was kind of one of my theories, that maybe he like just spent a lot of time on Sabine, and he doesn't actually have green hair. I think that's still possible. Like, he might not always, but like, just doesn't make sense. Like, human and green-skinned woman means green hair. Like, that math ain't mathin'.
Isn't it, though? It's all just pigment.
When
couldn't it happen?
I don't know.
Would you rather he had her eyes?
No.
We have more of those contacts?
No, there's too many contacts in this show. So no.
Well, speaking of contacts, do you think they're going to make contact with Thrawn and Ezra next episode, or are we going to have an episode that's heavier on Hera and Jason in the New Republic while everyone's busy traveling?
That's a good question. So next episode's what? Episode 6?
Yes.
I think we'll see. I don't think we'll see Ezra. I think the Ezra reunion. I feel like. Well, I was gonna say I was gonna say Sabine should be there, but I guess she could.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I really have no idea, because we're literally and figuratively in completely new territory at this point. So I don't know.
What do you think? I think I don't know that we'll see too much Ahsoka, because she's going to be in the mouth for a while. We'll probably get a few scenes with Huyang, maybe some training, maybe some processing. But I think we'll get some of the villains in Purrgil and Sabine as well. And I think we'll probably get a bit more of Hera in the New Republic. I am a bit sad that Hera wasn't going to go with them, but it does mean that there's more chances for Zeb to show up, because Hera's going to be in the known galaxy.
Yeah, she might be collecting the crew. I wouldn't mind that, to have like a Rebels reunion episode.
Family reunion and hello.
Yeah. Go get Zeb, go get Callus.
Yeah, like
see them kiss on the mouth.
I have a hard time believing they haven't been using that, like, all these fleet shots as setup for something to do with like a fleet battle or some kind of space battle with them.
My theory is that those 3 New Republic cruisers are going to stay there over the planet as something for Thrawn to tear apart when he gets back.
Yeah. This is their over sky.
These new, yeah, exactly. These new ships that they've been hyping up. I've even been calling them assault frigates, like at Aroa Sky. Yeah, and I think we're gonna. I don't know whether that will be this season or next season or the movie. But I do think we need to see something from Thrawn in season 1, or else it's kind of like, what's the point? Like fans who aren't familiar with Rebels need to know why this guy's so dangerous.
Yeah, like I've been trying to think of a way to use my Obra Sky animation to tie in with some Ahsoka content, and I think the opportunity is coming with that trio of ships. So,
are you adding those ships to Empire at War? Oops, I knocked over my chance cubes.
I thought about modeling them myself and then putting that up somewhere, but it's been a busy few weeks, so I haven't been able to do it yet. And I don't know if the hot.
I mean, the MC-30C must be pretty close, right?
It looks pretty close, yeah, but it's different enough that like having the MC-30 model isn't going to necessarily help anymore or help.
Do you guys have a hammerhead?
Yeah, we have a sphere now.
Yeah, it'd be nice when so are they all in the canon additions to Thrawn's Revenge?
No, so that's just the Starhawk and the MC-75. We have like the Sphyrna, Onager, and a few other things that are meant for our Galactic Civil War mod in the future.
Right.
That aren't available right now. But
yeah, gotcha. Be nice to get everything in at some point and make a new canon. I like the way the new canon New Republic fleet is coming together.
I like all of the New Republic or Resistance designs in Last Jedi. Like the MC-85 is neat. We have one of those, the Bunker Buster and that stuff. The Free Virgilia class, and it's just the Mandator 4. That's the only design from Last Jedi that I didn't like.
Yeah, the Mandator 4 is iffy. I really like the Supremacy as well.
Yeah, the Resurgent's really cool looking.
Yeah, the Resurgent's great. I love the profile of the Resurgent, like from far away.
Yeah, it's just the Mandator. Mandator 4 is fine. If that was the worst ship in the sequel trilogy, we'd be doing great. But instead, the Zeiston's there, and it's
right. Yeah,
I really do think my opinion of Rise of Skywalker would be different, significantly different, if not for the Zeiston. But
yeah, like in having an entire fleet is enough. Like having Palpatine return with a massive fleet is more than enough.
You only need one planet killer.
You don't really need any. Like if he's reached this new level of ascendant power,
Star Wars is going to have a planet killer. Okay, it's just going to happen. You don't need 1,000 of them, and they don't need to be like 3x scaled ISDs.
Yeah.
But I'd probably have it more on like a Revenge of the Sith kind of vibe for Rise of Skywalker, because that's what I was kind of feeling for a lot of the movie up until they showed up, where it was just like, okay, there's a lot of individual moments that I'm having fun with, but
yeah,
we
even just like
had enough Rise of Skywalker discussion in the past.
Yeah, I think it would have been okay even if they just showed, like, instead of blowing up Kijimi, if they just had like 3 of the ships just like slag it like, from orbit. Yeah, that would have been cool.
Well, we do have with Thrawn, we do know that he likes bombarding planets, because like remember the time that he was bombarding Lothal to stop the Gris? It's all to stop the Gris, by the way. He's a good guy. Like he was only killing those civilians because he was protecting the Chiss Ascendancy, who are also xenophobic from the Grisks. So it's okay.
Yeah, I remember in Legends when he bombed that entire ocean planet, destroying the fragile ecosystem
to stop the Gris.
Because of the Grisk.
And then they use them on them.
Yeah, the Grisk like coral reef.
Yeah, and like he had that whole room full of art of different species that he eliminated that he genocided rather than being able to understand them. Because like otherwise, if you left them, those were species that could have been wiped out by the Vong and turned into the Yorick coral implant slave. So really, it was just to stop the Vong. It was all It's all on the up and up.
Yep. It's a stupid ass point. Let's move on. One thing I really liked in this episode was the kind of tone when Ahsoka was sort of, reborn into her new cozy phase. I really like in particular when they're on the ship among the whales and she got like the sun streaming through the window and she breaks through the cloud layer and she's in her all white. I thought that reminded me a lot of the Rebels series finale in a way.
Yeah. Like the final half of the episode really felt like the after part of an allergy commercial or allergy pill commercial where they're all dancing in the streets. I think it's Reactin or something where they have like the brand new day, that kind of thing. Claire,
yeah.
One of the two.
Or the cream cheese lady, remember her?
Yeah. I think that's you look closely in the background of the Purrgil fleet or whatever you want to call it, the Purrgil pod. You can see the cream cheese lady on the top of the clouds.
Mm-hmm. I really like the music at the end as well.
Yeah, the music has been really good for the whole series.
Yeah.
I'm really glad we got all of that in this episode though. I enjoyed it there. I think it was a good punctuation for showing how Ahsoka has kind of taken Anakin's lesson. And if it had been a whole episode of them having to figure out, okay, we go on the Purrgil, I might have screamed because it was not a hard to guess plot point that they were going in that direction.
No, just go in their mouth, dog. Like, that's it.
I don't think it has to be in their mouth. You got to get them to wrap you up in their tentacles, but
I don't know what they're eating. That they have what's it called? What are those things called in their mouth? Is
tongues?
It? No, like the things that they use to catch krill. Like they're like teeth, almost like little hairs.
Yeah.
Is it baleen? Is that what it's called? Baleen.
Is that what the whales are called?
I think it still is baleen. Right. Yeah. But anyway, I kind of wonder what they're eating.
Hey, Coleslaw is saying it is baleen.
Well, they're like little bones, I think, like bony. They're kind of gross. Oh, it's keratin. Keratin. So it's like fingernails, skin, and hair. Ugh.
So is that supposed to be a hint that like Balin is going to be eaten by the whales?
Could be. That sounds very biblical. I mean, Ahsoka being eaten is biblical enough, but
yeah. Jonah took the hyperspace whales to. So the stuff with Hera, the New Republic is really not going. Yeah, the New Republic is really dumb. But do you think anyone's going to change their mind based on the whole pod thing that they saw based on the whales? Like, is that commander going to be on their side, or is he going to be like, oh, you still absconded with all our military stuff?
I think that commander probably will be, but like at the end of the day, it's going to be the same thing. It's like Jedi nonsense. Like,
yeah,
like she's doing her thing. It's Jedi nonsense. You got to get back to Coruscant. I kind of wonder whether we're actually going to be at Coruscant at all. And I kind of wonder whether that's where the fleet was earlier. But I don't know.
Where they've always been shown floating around?
Yeah, because they've been around like like you can tell it's a planet with like a city on it, but
yeah,
I was a little frustrated. It's like, okay, there's proof that something's going on because we found the Super Star Destroyer engines attached to this massive ship
that killed two of your pilots.
Yes, probably worth checking that out. Maybe like they attacked all of us. I don't know.
Yeah, like is that going to be a thing that Hera is blamed for, or is that going to be the evidence that something bad is happening where everyone gets together and Mon Mothma stops being an enabler?
Yeah, I don't think Mon Mothma is going to stop being an enabler.
It's just annoying, or not annoying. It's a thing that Star Wars does do a lot, and like at least Andor was trying to push Mon Mothma away from that in particular, but where like all of the non-military people are literally just useless roadblocks all the time, and Star Wars often turns into like if the military steamrolls the civilian government, that's good because those people aren't the ones actually fighting and they don't know anything. So it should always just be power given to the military to coup however many times they want.
Yeah. I will say I kind of disagreed a little bit with what Mark said. He kind of jokingly pointed out that like it's kind of authoritarian for your military leaders to accuse like to pick on senators for not serving in the military. I think it's kind of a different situation where it's a revolution. Like I don't know if I would say Mon Mothma served in the military. But she would never be accused of not like Sabine would never talk to her that same way, or sorry, Hera would never talk to her that same way. And for those who don't remember the scene I'm talking about, when she's talking to Jono, Senator Ziono, in episode 2, I guess it was, or episode 3. Like, I think there is something to be said about the people who sat aside and waited to see who came out on top when it is like an evil as obvious and as like everywhere as the Empire.
Yeah, but like I think if you take the specific example just on its own, then yes, Hera is right that he's like, especially what we know about him being in the pocket of the First Order. But if you take it as like a broader point of like some analysis of the universe and how it's often presented, then like it's a choice in storytelling to have made that be the voice of the Senate in the series. And for that to so often be the voice of the Senate in Star Wars, where like Borsk Falia is that person. And then you have like Leia kind of gets used as the opposition to it. And rather than being someone who stays opposing it within the Senate, usually Leia's storyline involves her leaving the Senate and siding with the military. Then they do like 6 or 7 coups where like they coup to put Dalla in power, then they coup to take Dalla out of power. And then like Trace Crefay is saying, oh, well, no one wants to do anything, so I'm going to take the military out to the Outer Rim or the unknown regions. Like, they're the ones choosing to have these be the voices of these different areas, where, like, the military is always right, the civilian government is always just shit or obstructionist, and there's nothing else you can do about it. And, like, Mark is obviously, like, joking with the, like, taking a simple, here's the Templin Institute style of, we're putting up this thing where and then it turned into a whole fucking bunch of weirdos on Twitter.
It's easy to pick on Mark, but part of the issue is like it's the same thing. There are all these individual stories that need villains, and you can't always have the Empire. So sometimes you gotta provide resistance from within.
It's just, it would be nice if the resistance from within didn't become the whole system.
Yeah, especially coming off of the prequels where like corrupt politicians was a pretty, was kind of the thing. So you're not treading any really novel ground there. I guess like the difference is, they talk in the extended material about how all the politicians were corrupt. Really, in the movies, you only really see Palpatine and a few of the others. So it is a little different to have. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, in the prequels, just kind of look at who the other senators are that we get as characters. We almost had the scene with the delegation of 2000 where you have Mon Mothma as this oppositional force, and you have this other group of senators. You do have Bail still, but usually his positive qualities are coming in when he's being more of an action hero kind of character as well. So you don't really think of him as being a senator quite as much, even at the end there. But the other senators who are kind of the good characters, you end up primarily focusing on Padme and Jar Jar, where both of them are like bumbling their way into giving Palpatine power and being blind to what he's doing. And then you also have Padme's relationship with Anakin, where she's like completely oblivious to the 2 literal worst people in the galaxy being who they are. And so it's hard not to look at them as being either ineffectual or complicit as well in certain ways.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little different when they're if it's the case with Ziono, who's not like evil in a Palpatine way. Really any senator like a Boris Kveli is not evil in a Palpatine way. Rather, his evil is his greed.
Yeah, like I think it's both accurate, useful, and not a problem to have characters like him and show that is a problem. Like the rot from within is still a thing there. But I think you can have oppositional forces to that aren't just the military saying, hey, the civilian government shit, we should kick them out and just do whatever we want. I think there's healthier ways to have a cooperation between those elements and others within the Senate. And we get a hint of that with Leia, but then Leia also leaves the Senate and just starts another resistance movement. And it just the whole point of it always ends up being the Senate is kind of never going to accomplish anything. And there can be no good way to have a democratic system.
Yep.
Very sad.
Very sad.
It doesn't even have to be about like a specific government. It's just showing that people can do things without it always having to be the military takes over. Because that's not always the best message to send.
No. Democracy should be able to work sometimes.
And like you could similarly represent that there are people within the military who aren't always going to have the best intentions, even people who might have fought during the rebellion. So if you have maybe some of the hardliners who come in, or former Imperial military members who are still more authoritarian, like you can have both elements of those coming in. But usually it's a very specific set that they have in each situation.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I pulled out my headphones. Okay. Well,
I think we've covered pretty much everything else, or everything I had anyway. Is there anything you want to end with?
No, I think all of my stuff has been covered as well. Shadow Warrior. Cut the shot for Chopper. Okay. That I thought was funny. When Chopper's coming down the ramp with Jason out of the ghost.
Yeah, no way he's getting over that lip there.
Like I've never been so aware a cut was coming in my life. It's like, okay, he's at the bottom. Change the shot.
Yeah.
But
no, I noticed that too.
I was just like waiting for it when it was happening.
Yeah.
But that's all I got.
Yeah. No, that's fine. I noticed that too.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this week's episode. I'll be doing something next Thursday, whether it's a solo review or something. Maybe I'll talk to Ilkin about doing the other High Republic book, because I believe you are not going to be around.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be around.
If you are, we'll do this again. If not, then we'll have an episode the week after, talking about 2 episodes. Either way, thank you all for joining us. We may or may not be doing some gaming after this. I don't know. We'll figure that out.
Bye, everybody.